घंटे बाद जाना शुरू कर दिया था।
ये नुकसान, ये 9 नंबर।
All right, let's just bring you up to speed with all that's happened overnight. 15 days after the dastardly terror attack in Jammu and Kashmir's Pahalgam, in which 26 innocent civilians were killed, India strikes back. Indian armed forces have hit back, targeting terror camps in Pakistan-occupied Kashmir and Pakistan's Punjab province as well.
According to a statement released by the Government of India, altogether 9 sites have been targeted. No Pakistani military facilities have been targeted, and India says its actions have been focused, measured and non-escalatory in nature. The country, in a strong message to Pakistan, said it is living up to the commitment that those responsible for the attack will be held accountable. Now, Pakistan did react to the strikes, with Prime Minister Shehbaz Sharif saying that the country has every right to give a befitting reply to what it called an act of war. Now, of course, we did see the violation of ceasefire, where 3 innocent civilians were killed just hours before. Meanwhile, U.S. President Donald Trump has also called the strikes shameful, and outlining that the two countries has been fighting for a very long time, and he expressed hope that it does end soon. All right, to discuss more, we're now being joined by Lieutenant Colonel Daniel L. Davis. He is a military expert and host of Daniel Davis Deep Dive on YouTube. Thank you so much for joining us today. Now, of course, we know that, you're up to date with all the developments that are coming in. First of all, your reaction to it.
Well, I think it's really concerning. Anytime you have 2 nuclear powers that are having conventional clashes, and you know, this is by far the biggest military clash that the two sides have had since 2019, and the concern is that there's more to come, because the very strong language used by the Pakistan side, saying that they consider this an act of war and that they would respond at a time and place of their choosing. And of course, they're claiming that all of the claims by the Indian side are untrue. They said they had nothing to do with the terrorist attack, and they had nothing, and these places were hit were not terror camps, but they were civilian camps, at least according to what they're saying, that this was all, you know, completely wrong to do for the Indian side. So they may take even stronger steps afterwards. India, for its part, said that they thought it was a measured and a responsible response based on what this terrorist attack happened on the 26th. But, you know, it's in the eye of the beholder, because now then you have on the Pakistani side doesn't think that it was reasonable or measured. And what happens next is going to be really, really telling, because it depends on what Pakistan or India will do in response to that. So this is a very, very tense situation, which could escalate a lot. So I certainly agree with the President of the United States. This needs to get tamped down quickly.
Absolutely. Now, we have seen that in the response to India striking back to the dastardly Pahalgam terror attack that happened on the 22nd of April, India has shown considerable restraint. It's been amazing how, with precision strikes that we've seen overnight. On the other side, that we've seen Pakistani forces, we're talking about forces, not terrorists, not terror infrastructure, we're talking about Pakistani forces, which have engaged in firing across the LOC and targeting civilians. Now, this has to say something about how things are panning out and the responses from both sides of the border that we're seeing.
Well, it certainly does. And again, you know, it depends on which side of the line of contact that you're on, because each side is presenting itself as this version of things, which makes its side look like the right one. And, you know, gosh, I mean, there's truth is probably somewhere in between. But when you get emotions up like this, and especially on a situation like this, where there's a long history of antagonism and a lot of disagreements and disputes about what needs to happen, and, you know, one side doesn't have any trust in the other, they don't believe when they're told one thing, on the other side. What is critically important is that this gets resolved diplomatically, that we don't escalate further, and that more innocent civilians on either side of the line get killed. Because I'm just, when you're talking about a situation where nuclear weapons are in the arsenal of both sides, you can never take for granted that they're not going to be used. And so I think that the stakes are extremely high here, higher than maybe it's been at any time, maybe in the whole experience of this whole conflict, because what could be coming next? That's the big unknown.
And knowing that, and the terror strikes that India did conduct, they were all on terror targets, which was extremely precision. It was pretty much decided where it was going to attack. And as my colleague Jasim said, when it comes to the Pakistan side, they have been targeting the civilian infrastructure as well.
Well, they have, and of course, the Pakistani side doesn't agree with that assessment. They said that no, they weren't terrorist attacks, and I'm not in a position to be able to say authoritatively who's right or who's wrong. I just know that the stories being told by each side is very different, and it's just I can't overemphasize when emotions like this and strong nationalistic tendencies are at play here. It's even more important than normal to try and to say, all right, let's take some time here. Let's let some time go on, do some investigations. Let's authoritatively confirm what is and what isn't a terrorist situation. And if there are any ties from the Pakistani government to that terrible, slaughter that happened in April, then by all means, that needs to be addressed and people need to be held accountable. But we can't get to a situation, or at least the two parties need to make sure they don't get into a situation that escalates and even more innocent civilians on either side get killed, because that would be bad for everybody.
Right. Now, Lieutenant Colonel Davis, I also want to understand, of course, we need to talk about the role of the United States, the approach that it will take. Some of the early reactions that we have seen has, in fact, come from the United States, of course, as and when the world wakes up, the reactions will start pouring in. I just want to understand, what do you think is going to be the U.S. administration's approach to this issue?
Well, I think the administration, at least so far from what they've said, is very similar to what I'm saying right now, is that we have good relations with both Pakistan and India, and obviously we've been improving our relations with India for quite some time. So that's very valuable, and so I'm sure that President Trump is very keen to be able to balance the situation. And you heard Secretary of State Rubio said that he talked to both his counterparts on both sides of this line to try and say, hey, let's come to some kind of reasonable understanding. Let's de-escalate the situation here. Let some time pass so that there's not an immediate response. And I think that the ball's kind of in the Pakistan side right now, because they're the next one that they've claimed that they're going to do something. And this is a time where I think patience is definitely the call for. And I hope that Secretary of State is really trying to use his influence to say, don't do anything rash or do anything soon. Let's make sure some time and give people a chance to have their rational situation here before anything gets more out of hand.